Yeah, it was a good time, honey, under the sky. Yeah, it was a good time, honey, just you and I. Feeling alright.
I can't, so.
All right. Hey, welcome to All Wheels Podcast. This is episode 6, and I am Evan, and I am here with Brady and Max, as always. What's up, guys?
Yo, what's
How you doing?
All right. So it's good to be back. I know we always act like everybody knows our timeline, but none of this stuff's even published yet, so it doesn't really matter to you guys. But we've had a little break working on some new ideas, and we've been working on getting a website up and running and getting all of our first 5 and now 6 episodes ready to publish. So we you wouldn't know this at the moment, but we're about to go live in the next week or so with the show, and we've got some good content all ready to roll at the start. So I think it's really awesome. So we're pretty excited to get all this live and launched, and now we actually have the website up and running, which is allwheelspodcast.com. So we will make sure to remind you of that, because you can get any of our updates and stuff there. And then the show will be live through all the normal podcast networks, Google, Apple, our iTunes, and God, what else? Spotify and all that junk.
Spotify.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
and we have technically 2 Instagrams also.
Oh
that
yeah,
we'll start
say that. What is
populating.
the Instagram? Because I don't remember now either. What's the name?
Shoot. So we have All Wheels Podcast on Instagram, and then we have Gmail set up right now. If you guys have any questions for anything that we might scroll through to and answer some of your
That's
questions,
good.
we might.
What is the
incorporate
Gmail
that
address?
into a
Say that
segment.
as well.
That one is
I don't remember either. You put it in our notes the other day, and I forget.
yeah.
Oh, here we go. allwheelspod@gmail.com. And I will say right now, and we'll make this more official later as we continue finalizing stuff, I do have admin@allwheelspodcast.com that's a forwarder. So like that will always go to one of us. But
good.
But sometime soon here in the future, like we'll standardize all that. Make sure you have one really clear email to use. If you want to get a hold of us, you can leave comments on episodes on our website and stuff like that. So don't worry. As we continue getting everything dialed in, we'll make it really clear how to participate in our show and stuff. But for the moment, we're still working on all that stuff, so it's a little disorganized, but that's okay.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah,
Hopefully
well, it
you can
turns
give
out
us that allowance.
it takes a lot to put all this junk together. It's not as easy as just sitting here talking. I mean, it is, but then if you actually want people to listen to it, it takes a bit to put all the pieces together.
Can you believe it's been a year and a half already?
Yeah,
been getting this together.
Feels like it.
No, in all reality, it's been a couple months.
Yeah,
but
that's pretty good though.
But we want to get it done right for you guys first.
Well, I think the point is,
even if it delays release,
the best part
we want
is
to get it straight.
We're in no rush to release it, and then once we do, if we have a good foundation to maintain it, we'll be able to keep regular content going. So it's kind of dumb to like rush it out right away, and then we can't even sustain like posting it on a website or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're doing it in the right order.
Do we want to release what day? Because we are going to try to do make it a weekly podcast.
Well, I don't think we know for sure what day yet, because it kind of depends on our audio guy. And by the way, thanks to Ryan. Let's say that Ryan does all of our editing and stuff for us, so he's awesome. But I don't know if we
I
can
say
guarantee
let's
a day
shoot for
right
Monday.
now, right? But
we
can pick one.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I say Monday.
Okay.
That's when I primarily listen to.
You're talking about to just
podcasts.
release stuff. Yeah, I guess that's irrelevant when we record it.
They don't know what.
That's
day
true.
it is.
They have no idea. We don't even have to tell them.
We could be from the future.
Well, sure. I like Mondays. Let's do that.
Mondays is a nice round.
And a little throwback to Motorbike Mondays.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, let's stick with Monday releases.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool. So every Monday, expect to see some new episodes come out. If not, we'll be sure and let you guys know in the previous episode if we're going to skip a week or if we're going to take a little break. But expect every Monday on anywhere you find podcasts to hear the new episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can sustain weekly episodes, and if not, stuff will come up sometimes, but we'll make sure to say something when that happens. But we'll definitely try and keep this going as regularly as possible. Well, it'll be nice too once all the kind of foundation stuff's out of the way. We don't have to work on that. We can just focus on a show regularly, so that makes it easier too.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, so what's new? What's in the shop? What have you been working on? You said you just about blew up a motor, so let's hear that story.
Yeah, let's hear that story.
Yeah, off. Well, so. All right, you threw me off here. Let me gather myself real quick. Yeah. Well, so today I did almost just totally grenade a motor, not necessarily in the sense, but I have been working on an early '55 Chevy pickup with a 350 trans, swapping it, and it's never quite run right. I didn't build this motor, didn't do any of the tuning. I swapped out the old beater Edelbrock carb that was in it before, and put in a Holley vacuum secondary card.
Mm-hmm.
It's a street cruiser, so even though a double pumper sounds cool and is cool, we don't need that for the street.
Yeah, that's a lot of carburetor.
And yeah, it's 6. I think I put a 600 in it.
Is the motor like
so I've
cammed
been doing
and headers and stuff, or what?
Yeah,
what's the
it's
deal?
pretty mild. It's got like an RV style cam. Pretty mild 350. Like it's probably making
Wait,
400
I have a
horse
question.
or something
I
like
feel
that.
like this is a stupid question, but you just said that, and I've always wondered this, and I've never asked. I see that when people are talking about cars, or like I see cars for sale or something, and they say RV cam. Okay.
Oh,
does that
okay.
literally mean it was a cam for a motor for an RV?
No.
Okay, I figured
so,
it didn't, but I thought that was the dumbest question I never wanted to ask.
Out of a
anybody.
Winnebago.
That's what I was wondering, and I was like, why are these motorhomes so powerful that people are taking the camshafts out of them?
Well, yeah, that's
Okay, I'm glad
that's the trick.
Let's not make fun of me for
Well,
that
I don't know the
question.
full
Tell
backstory,
me what it means.
but I can. I don't know the full backstory of how the name RV cam or RV style cam came to play.
But what does RV
I'm
mean?
assuming so, like recreational vehicle.
So it does mean motorhome.
Yeah. So what I'm assuming is
I'm
how
not-
it got the
I'm
name
not stupid.
was.
I knew I was onto something.
Usually the cam profiles they would put in RV would have like more of a torquey, like
Yeah.
mid-range, low to mid-range kind of power curve or power band.
Right.
So it is just it's style. It's an RV style cam. So you're gonna have more low to mid-range power.
Okay, but it doesn't literally mean that it had to come out of a motor from a motorhome.
No,
Okay.
no. But like I'm sure, like in the beginning, they were pulling RV cams
No
out.
shit. Well, I
Yeah,
know
it
I've
says
seen that.
it's-
Probably
It
out
says
of
it's
like
made
the
for
440s
RVs
or something.
and heavy
Yes.
duty towing.
I feel like that's where I've seen it the most is when guys pull a 440 from a motorhome or something,
Yeah,
and then it
exactly.
says RV cam, like, and then I always thought, like, what is so special about cams from motorhomes? But the torque
Yeah.
thing makes sense. They're probably, power, like they're intended to make power differently than you would like a, like a street car motor. Or
Oh yeah,
something, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
you take a little from up top and sprinkle it on the bottom and middle.
This says RV cams are designed more for low end torque than high end horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that
and the
it's-
truck weighs nothing. So it's like I said, it's a pretty basic 350
Okay.
or mild 350 with some like heads cam intake and carb. There's so today at least I was doing some tuning just to iron out that transition period or that transition position in the throttle. Just smoothing it out. So doing a couple test runs and then went to do is kind of towards the end of the day. I was really getting close to it, and mostly I put in a quick like diaphragm adjuster for when the secondary kicks in,
Okay.
rather than so I can just turn the screw rather than changing out the springs.
Yeah.
And so I was just starting to kind of dial that in, and was leaving, and then just pulled out in the street and just started hearing some like the lifter tick or valve tick.
Were you giving it some beans or
And-
what? You're putting some mustard on it, weren't you?
Oh, I absolutely was.
Yeah, he put he put some
And-
sriracha on it when that thing started.
So I pulled over, shut it down, and as I was getting out, I just saw just a paint stripe of oil.
Oh, my God.
The old snail trail, huh?
Oh, jeez.
That's not a good sign.
And I'm freaking out at this point. It's like, okay, I haven't touched anything in the oil system, or anything that actually would have like cause any oil to leak. So I pop the hood, and I haven't put the the hood springs in it yet. So I'm like having to hold this like 70-pound hood up with one hand. I'm looking around. It was easy to find. The firewall was just splattered with oil.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, what is over here? And I take a little closer of a look, and it's the oil pressure pickup. It's like a manual pickup or analog pickup. And like I was telling Evan, like I've only seen the like copper tube, like little like thin,
Yeah.
I don't know what size it is, thin tube that goes
Yeah.
up to your gauge and it reads pressure off of that.
Yeah.
This was plastic, like a plastic tube.
Wow.
And it just, I mean, throughout the life of that truck, and or at least since the motor's been in there, that
Yeah, that seems
plastic's
really
been
dumb
in there.
to use
I
plastic
agree.
for that.
I've never seen that before.
It's not like it's super mega high oil pressure or anything, but that's not
No,
gonna handle
like it'll-
heat forever.
It'll
Being
handle,
cold
yeah,
and-
exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
not a good idea.
so yeah, just after so many heat cycles, I mean, I saw that's where it was coming from, and then it just broken off.
Right.
And I pulled a little piece off, and it just broke with no issue or no pressure at all. So it just got brittle from heat,
Yeah.
heat cycling. And
How far
I'm
were
sure
you from
that
the shop?
thing.
Was it easy to
Oh.
get back?
I mean, I just did the job on the side of the road there. I didn't even want to,
Did you plug?
because the motor was already hot because I had been doing testing back and forth.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to get it any more hot or anything. So
Right.
I ended up jumping in my car, running to parts store, and picking up some oil, and then walked over. I had a what is it? Like pipe thread, like block off plug.
Okay. You just plugged it.
Just like the threaded ones.
Yeah.
So I just took the old one out because I didn't have any of that copper or anything to actually do the repair.
Right.
And then just plugged it for now, filled it with oil, pulled the coil plug, and then just cranked it over.
Yep.
I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds at a time for a bit, and then
And
just
it
to
sounded
prime for
fine after
oil.
that?
Fired right up, no issues, no
Nice.
ticking, no nothing.
Good thing you were
so-
paying attention to that, because that'd be
Oh,
very
man.
easy to trash if you weren't listening to the motor.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
blasting Motley
well-
Crue down the road or something.
Yeah, which happens, you know.
Which I would have done.
I would have done that.
Well, fortunately, it happened when I was doing some tuning, so
Right.
I was really
Paying
paying
attention.
attention to what the motor was doing.
Yeah.
And it was honestly like just the slight bit of some tapping
Yeah.
or ticking. So
Nice.
it was just I honestly at first I thought it was the torque converter,
Right.
because I had just hooked back just hooked up the kick down cable.
Yeah.
Because I took it off with the when I put the new carb on, because I had to redo some linkage. So I finally did the linkage, and then I thought it was like, okay, so something's going on with I don't know, transmission, something. It did sound a little bit
Right.
like at first as like some torque converter whine or something like that.
Right.
And so I just shut it down completely. But
Damn. That could have been bad.
but yeah, filled it up, saved it, brought it back,
Yep.
and then had to clean up like 5 quarts of oil, I think. Oh man,
that sucks.
I was so pissed. So, but yeah, so I just kind of cleaned up as best I could. I'm actually gonna get a power washer tomorrow or pressure washer and try to clean it up as much as I can. But
And what year is this truck?
Hell of a day.
it's an early 55.
Wow, cool.
It's so 55 is when they change body styles, changed pretty much the whole truck. But this one was a 55, early 55, so it was before. So it was like the last year of that generation. I forget what gen they're
I
called.
gotta look that up.
Yeah, I gotta look it up too.
Oh yeah, okay.
Mixed
That's
parts.
the one I was thinking of. That's such a rad
Just,
front end.
yeah.
Nice.
Well, everything is unique to it because usually, like last year of that generation of vehicle, manufacturers test a lot of like the next gen stuff
Yeah.
they're going to be putting on there. So
Is that
everything
that
is
big
unique.
round grill, the big kind of tube grill like the
Yeah,
54 had?
exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's sweet. Cool truck.
So like all of the interior pieces are like specifically unique to that truck, and like it just makes it a bitch to get parts for. Oh, and the hood is a 1 year own or like half year. It's like completely different from the 54s.
Oh, nice.
So I have a 54 hood on there right now, or I'm sorry, a 53, because even the 54s were different.
Yeah.
That I have to do some shaving and trimming and just to make it fit.
Oh yeah,
but,
you can see the shape is different on.
yeah, it's
Interesting.
super cool. I mean,
rad.
people when I say 55, like people try to correct me all the time, but
Yeah, they're very
no,
different
it's-
looking. The
That's when
I like the
55
later
is-
model. It looks really great
Man,
too.
I would love to have
Yeah.
a 50s pickup at some point. I've never had one that old. That's just
Wow.
they're so cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and this one's laid out. It's bagged to the bagged down to the floor. and,
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun little ripper.
Dude,
so
that's cool.
actually, I was re-listening to the intro podcast that we did and got super embarrassed, but just how awkward I was. But the story I was telling with my boss, well, like I said, I'd known him for a while. We become friends. The first like side job I did for him was the bed, building a custom bed for that truck.
Oh, cool.
So.
Right on.
But yeah, so that's what happened today to me.
Well, it's
like
an
I had some other
interesting
stuff
day.
going on in the shop, but yeah, that's the big hitter at
Nice.
least.
What about you, Max? Were you? I know you were just gone. This wasn't the trip to pull a motor or whatever for your van, was it?
No, that's in June. I actually, what's in my garage is the anti-car truck maintenance.
What a Fiat?
Yeah,
I bought a electric. I bought a 500e electric Fiat.
no way.
When? Why? What?
No.
What?
Well, because I had been toying with the idea of one of these electric cars, and
Okay.
Those things are super freaking rare too.
they're
What
very
the
rare.
hell? Where'd
I
you
learned.
even
Yeah.
find this thing?
I know. So the story is basically, I started looking at electric cars. I went and drove one of the new Kia Niro electric cars, which was pretty sweet.
Okay.
But it's like 40 grand. And I'm like, if you're going 40 grand, then you just go in 50 grand and buying a Tesla. But I really don't want to spend that kind of money. I'd rather with something I'm not even quite sure about if I even
Wait,
want to
how
go.
did you buy a car without texting me to help justify the decision like usual? I'm actually more
I
concerned you
know.
didn't ask me to
Well,
help convince
you probably
to
knew
buy
what you were
it.
gonna say.
So
Yeah,
I
in this
just was-
case I might have said no.
So
Yeah.
I just was kind of geeking around a little bit. I went and drove a couple of the Nissan Leafs, and then I went to California, and I was just like, well, I'll just get back on it. I found a couple that I liked and figured I would check in. So I get to California right at the beginning of this gas fiasco.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I think it was $5.50.
Oh, yeah.
When I left, it was like $6.99 in a
Yeah.
matter of in a week. And poor Chantil, who I was visiting, she's got a Nissan Xterra, and it's like $120 something to fill it up now.
Oh yeah.
So she's starting to like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, I just started looking into these electric cars. Let's go try to find a Leaf or something that's affordable. Because I had kind of opted to, if I'm going to dip my toe in, I'd rather get something that's a little more affordable, decide if I like it, and then go from there.
Wait, is this new?
Mine?
Is it?
No, they don't make them anymore.
No, mine's a 2014.
Oh, okay. I have no clue.
So,
when they made
So
They made them. It was part of that like American like you had to I think to get out of like this crazy import tax for them.
Oh, dude,
it's pretty cool, man.
Does it have a stripe on the bottom? Or
dude,
no?
it sure does.
Is it red? I can't.
It's
I can't tell the
gray
difference.
with like
Red
orange accents.
Look at those custom rings. Are those stock rings?
Yeah. So
God,
wait,
it's
let me
like-
finish the story.
Damn, Tokyo Drift. Where'd you get this?
So I'm in California and I'm looking while she's doing work and I'm looking around and I just typed in like EV or something and up popped this Fiat 500e. I didn't even know it existed, and the reason that is they only sold it in California and Oregon.
That's what it was.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
It's only they only made this car because in order to sell cars in California, a percentage of them have to be electric vehicles.
Okay.
So he basically made this car so he could continue to sell vehicles.
No way.
So
And they
anyway,
like when they were selling new, they were losing money every time one of those were bought.
really?
Because it was like 10 or 20 grand like a car Fiat was losing money on every
Wow.
purchase.
Jesus.
And they were still like 40 or 30 grand or something
Yeah, it
like
was
that. Like
32
new.
grand was the list sticker new.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and looked at this little Fiat. Chantel was like, "Oh, I rented a Fiat once. I love them.
Yeah.
So we go drive this thing, and it's a ripper, man. It's a fully electric, leather interior, heated seats. Like it is a nice car.
sweet.
And it was only 12 grand. So she's like, I'm at $400 a month in gas, I could take a car payment of $200, have no more gas, no more oil changes, no more regular maintenance. So she bought it. And then anyway, when I get home, and all of the cars I was looking at had all sold.
Yeah.
It was like a land grab for any affordable electric cars. So
Yeah.
I just I was like, I wonder if there's any chance there's a 500e in Colorado, and I Googled it.
No way.
And there was two of them. There was a white one in
Wow.
Golden, and there was this gray one in Denver, and the guy was asking 10 grand. So I go down there. It's at the end of that week-long storm. He's got one picture of it. It's frozen. It's got the salty shit all over it.
Yeah.
No, he's like no one's coming to look at this car. He can't take it in and clean it. So I emailed him on a Thursday and said, "Hey, I'd like to come see it." He's like, "Well, I'm taking it into the dealer because nobody will come and look at it." And I was like, I will come right now. I will come right now. And so went down there Friday afternoon, and the battery degradation is the thing about electric cars.
Yeah.
And Nissan had the hardest time in the beginning, but Fiat, they're liquid cooled batteries, so it actually they maintain really well. This thing is already 7 years old,
So
and I've probably only lost 10 miles or 15 miles off
Oh
the
wow.
original.
So what's the
But
range?
either
on it?
way,
I think it's like 100 miles or something.
it's like 90, and I have
90?
76 when I fully charge.
Okay.
So,
Wait, are
which is
you
fine.
keeping the Scion too, or no?
No, I'm going to keep the Scion just to go get the /5, and then when I get back, I'll sell it.
Okay, got it.
Because then I'll
Dude,
have my
that's-
van fixed.
That's rad. I didn't
So
know
anyway,
that. That's
I
awesome.
offer this guy 6,500, and we agreed at 68, and so. I
Oh,
have
that
this-
seems like a deal for that.
It's smoking
That's
deal.
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
smoking deal. The car is awesome. I came home and washed it and cleaned it up and
Yeah, it looks
charged
nice.
it. He gave me a 220 charger and a 110. So anyway, it's like
Oh,
I'm looking
nice.
at all the car truck maintenance on our list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like,
Like,
nope,
oh.
nope,
It
nope.
doesn't
nope,
even
nope.
exist. It's so weird to have a car. I mean, I
Check
have
tire pressure. Yep, we're good.
I keep
Wait,
driving
how
past
many miles are on it?
45,000.
45,000.
In EV world, I have no idea.
Yeah,
if
does that
that's even
matter? I don't know
a
either.
lot or
I don't
Does
really
that
know.
matter at all?
I just got this thing. I ran down there on Friday. I've had it for
Like you
4
got it
days.
last week? Oh, okay. No shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's rad. I had no idea. That's awesome.
I'll drive it by. You gotta take this thing for a drive. It's funny.
Yeah,
man.
I
You-
want to try it. That's
You
cool.
punch it and it's like, boo.
That's awesome.
You can hear the rubber band
It's so
unwinding.
funny.
Okay, how much does your estimated mileage go down when you turn the heated seats on?
So
Like-
funny question. The heated seats don't drop it at all, but you turn the heater on, and it does.
Oh,
interesting.
because
Yeah.
it's probably like because there's no
Yeah.
internal combustion engine to heat up.
Because they're heating the seats
the
from
core.
like the hot coolant from the battery.
Probably. It's such a weird.
Yeah.
It's such a.
Well, no, they're probably just creating. It's French, so they're probably just creating a hard short somewhere underneath the seat.
Well, isn't that? I mean, that's basically what a heated seat is, anyways, right? It's just
Yeah,
a big
yeah. No, you're
resistor.
right. Yeah, just with some
That's
resistance.
funny.
Yeah. So,
Dude, no way.
anyway,
That's I didn't expect you to say that. Wow, I'm
that
like
is
shocked,
what's
but
in
that's
my
real.
garage.
That's cool.
I just got it registered
cool.
and titled and been
Nice.
driving it around today. But what's funny about it is, like, when you drive them around in town, you barely use any battery because every time you hit the brakes, it regenerates.
It reads.
Yeah.
So like
Sure.
I left this morning with 66 miles. I went to my physical therapy appointment, which was on the south end of town. Then I went all the way to the north end of town, had coffee with friends, came home. Then I drove out northeast to Sweetwater Brewing.
Yeah.
Came back, and I'm at 65 miles.
Oh shit. Okay.
I
That's
know.
cool.
So
How is
anyway, I'm-
Sweetwater, by the way? I saw you guys went there today. Is that cool?
It's
I
that
haven't
place
been
is
over there
rad.
yet.
Their beer.
It's
is
at the
great.
old Red Truck, right?
It's
they
the old
took
Red
over
Truck.
that place. Okay.
Yeah,
I want to check that out soon. That's awesome.
yeah. Billy rode his R90/6 out there, and Joey had
Nice.
his bike out there. It was nice.
I almost went. I had the XR at work, and I was gonna run over there, but I got too busy.
yeah, you've got.
Oh,
a lot.
you just picked up an XR, right?
Yeah, I got a
You
couple
got a
of
lot
interesting
going on in
things.
your garage, Evan.
Yeah, I went and bought. We're gonna do the Colorado Backcountry Discovery Route this summer. That's all off road, and I needed a bike for that. And I found the cleanest. It's a 2012 XR 650L with 2,800 miles on it. I mean, it looks like almost brand new.
It looks
And
like
it's
it's
a-
never been in the dirt ever.
I don't think it has ever. The guy I bought it from a dealer at about 1,000 miles, and he bought it in 2015. So, in 7 years or whatever, he put what, I don't know, 1,500 miles on it or something, maybe, on the street. And yeah, I mean, there's not even dirt in the skid plate. Like it's like spotless, and it's got probably $1,000 worth of upgrades on it. It's got full FMF power bomb header, pipe, like a slip on.
Oh yeah.
Hand
those
guards,
are-
levers, MSR shifter, pegs. I don't know. I'm forgetting more stuff. Skid plate,
any suspension
Frisco
work or anything?
sprockets. It's got all sorts of shit on it, so it's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Yeah,
How many times have you been on the website XRs only?
I've looked at it a few times, but they're
Yeah.
the website's kind
They're
of a
pretty
mess.
pricey.
It is
Yeah.
expensive, and the website's hard to find
Mhm.
anything on, so I don't really look at it that much. I'm trying
yeah,
not to
I just know that from
spend too much
I've been
money
wanting
on
an
this thing.
XR 650 for so freaking long.
I gotta say, I love
Um,
it so far. I bought it on Sunday, and I've ridden it the last 2 days. And I mean, not long, but I've ridden it around the last 2 days because it's been warm. So I put 20 miles on it, maybe, and it's just fun. I mean, it's like it'll do 80 miles an hour. It's it's a 5-speed.
Oh, yeah.
But this is an L model. It's not the R.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's
So
electric
it's-
start and taller gearing and stuff. But I love it. It's comfortable. It's got a ton of power. It sounds good. The suspension is awesome. It's really fun riding a bike like that and jumping off curbs and shit, just riding it around town.
So fun, like a hoodlum
So,
bike.
Well, and how cool is it
I
that
like
it's
it a
a
lot.
modern bike and say mid to large CC bike? It's a single, but
Yeah.
it's still carbureted.
Yeah.
No fuel injection.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
I like it. It's as simple as it gets. Looking
Exactly.
back on it, I've been reading a ton about them, and they didn't change much at all since 1993
No.
on that motor. That
No,
motorcycle is almost
exactly.
completely unchanged. And I found this
Yeah.
rad video of this dude on YouTube I watch sometimes, Kaplan Cycles, that on the East Coast, that they have all these old bikes and
I
stuff.
think I've seen that.
He did a comparison between the 85, I think, XL600R and a 2018 or something XL650R, and it was just mind-blowing, like how almost identical the two bikes were. It's
Yeah.
really ridiculous. Like they didn't upgrade shit on these things.
They just changed the color, the plastics.
Yeah. But it's cool. I really like it. So I plan on taking it riding it until this summer and taking it on that trip, and then who knows? We'll see what happens. I kind of plan on keeping it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll sell it after that. But it's pretty sweet. I think I got it for a good price. It'll be easy to move if I lose interest, but Yeah, it's sweet. Most of them were selling for more, and they were just beat to crap. And this one was like almost new. It was really crazy.
You guys should do a comparison video because you'll have a KLR 650, a DR 650, an XR 650L.
Yeah,
You'll
we've
have
got
all
the
these,
whole crew
all
for
these,
this trip.
the whole gambit.
Yeah, and then Devin's riding a multistrada, and
Yeah.
who knows what Billy's probably going to pick up a newer KLR, I think, but we don't know yet. So yeah, there's going to be bikes are going to be all over the place for this
And then
trip,
of course
so.
the Pan America.
Yeah, and then a brand new Pan America. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Quite the turnout for this ride.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. What else? And then I've been working on our KZ1000 at work. I was telling Brady, we have our test bike is an old KZ1000P police bike, and I was testing a regulator on it the other day, and the base gasket blew out, and it just started absolutely puking oil out of the bottom of the cylinder. And I've never in my life seen this happen before.
Whoa.
But just out
all
of nowhere.
at once?
Yeah. I was running it,
Wow.
and I didn't hear anything, but after that session I turned it off because I run it on the lift a lot. I put a fan on it and I just use it as a test bed for regulators a lot, and it works great for that. But it ran fine, like there was no problems. Shut it off, and then I noticed there's this huge puddle of oil under it. And I was like, what the hell? It always drips a little bit, but not like that. So I start looking, and it's all over the cylinder. And I'm like, what the hell? So I clean it off, run it again. And then I put a video in the chat. Did you see that in our Facebook chat?
I didn't get a chance.
Oh,
to,
no,
to
Max
see
would have
that.
seen it. We got a chat with some of our buddies. I sent it
Oh,
to
I thought you were talking about
No,
Discord.
not ours,
Sorry.
but I'll send you the video too. You should see it. It's actually
Sorry, guys.
just
Sorry, I'm not your friend. I forgot.
it's just puking oil out of the bottom of the cylinder. Looks like somebody cut your artery open or something. It's just like pulsing oil out of the cylinder.
So you got to take the whole top of the motor apart.
Well, I was about to just say fuck it, I'm not fixing it because I don't want to take a 4-cylinder apart. But
Yeah.
Ryan and I were looking at it and he would help me, and I was finally like, okay, you know what? Let's just do it. And in 2.5 hours, Ryan and I stripped the whole bike down, took all the valve measurements so we could change had one valve that was closed up all the way, so we're gonna adjust the valves, and it's actually not a big deal, like $200 in parts, and I don't know, we'll have 6 hours into it. So
Yeah,
it's
honestly,
okay. It wasn't
probably
that bad.
just a reseal, and you'll be good.
The motor's actually in great shape. I think it's just ancient, and then it's been sitting for who knows 10 years without being run, and you bring it back to life, and I think the gasket just blew out. But anyways, so that's my project right now. Okay,
sweet.
well, we killed half an hour talking about other shit, so let's talk about the
good
topic
at
tonight, which is car and truck maintenance. So we finished our 2-parter on motorcycle maintenance last time, which was good. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. So let's talk about the same kind of stuff, but for cars and trucks, because I think that's pretty useful info too.
Yeah,
So
and
kick
you know
it
what?
off,
Like,
Brady.
surprisingly, there's not a whole lot of overlap. Well, I guess so.
There's some general
but
things,
it's
I
kind
think.
of yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, thinking back, like I don't know.
I got to
It was-
reload beer. Hang on, keep going.
Yeah, so like the motorcycle maintenance podcast, number one thing, first thing to get is definitely a manual. That's going to be kind of your Bible for the vehicle.
I
Not
have
only-
had good luck with the Haynes manuals for cars. I gotta say, especially cars from like the 80s. I had one for a Toyota truck and that Nissan hardbody pickup I had. Those manuals are cheap and actually pretty decent, I think, from that era. I know some they get a bad rap, but some are not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest with you, manuals for, say, cars or trucks, it's a lot different than, say, older motorcycles. So I don't have, honestly, a lot of experience with car or truck manuals. What I'll usually do is if I'm working on, and a lot of times what I am looking up, for me at least, is like torque specs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then so if I'm working on, like, say, rebuilding a motor or something like that, or anything really, I'll just try to find like a sheet that has all of the torque specs.
Yeah.
But because with cars and trucks, what I have found, at least, they're not as specific to model or make as motorcycles are.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a lot more like generationally more general kind of parts or systems
Right.
on most vehicles of that time, at least domestic and like kind of regional, I guess.
Well, it's also harder to find a service or shop
Mhm.
manual for a car or truck, I
Yeah,
think.
exactly.
Motorcycles, there's good coverage for those in like PDF files online that are easy to track down. That's not always true for a car or a truck for some reason.
And the factory service manuals for motorcycles, at least vintage ones, are awesome.
Yeah, they are
just
very good.
super good.
I do have one, like I downloaded a truck a manual for my truck, which is a 2007 F-150, and I found a PDF service manual, factory service manual online. I downloaded, and honestly, it's like, it is really good, but it is so in depth. It's almost like too much information to look up something quickly. And then it's not like I'm rebuilding the motor on it. I forget what I wanted to look up, but it wasn't that much, and it was just like, okay, this is a lot. It's like 600 pages and just so much stuff.
I had a Haynes for my '69 stepside pickup when I was back in high school. It was like the '67 through '72 manual, and I remember just thinking it was the best thing ever because anything I wanted to do, it was so clear and well done. But looking back, I think that's the only one I ever actually had.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they're as common for cars, but I know you can find them easily for old stuff. Like we had no problem finding one for our 66 Mustang. I've downloaded good copies of the factory manuals for my 61 Falcon. And those manuals from the 60s are pretty sweet. Like they have really good info.
Yeah.
And I mean good diagrams and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's for like the older stuff. I think they were a lot better because they were supposed to be rebuilt and like kept on the road.
Yeah,
right.
Good
Right.
point.
Newer stuff now, it's recyclable.
Right.
Like it's
Well, and so much of it's computer-based testing and stuff.
Yeah,
Anyways,
exactly.
the diagnosis is like, if you don't have a, $10,000 factory service tool, you can't do a lot of it.
Exactly.
So, which is where like YouTube and stuff comes in because people have found workarounds for so much.
Exactly. That's kind of where I was getting at. Where like say YouTube or forums. I mean, again, that used to be one of an F word in my old shop, but they've come a long way. For kind of more troubleshooting, I would say, or even possibly diagnostic kind of help to like ranges to look, but. Again, we're not really getting into diagnostics or even technical stuff today.
True.
So I'm sorry, I was getting a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
But those are all good points,
kind of,
I think, related to manuals.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty accurate.
And I think it's going to depend on the car. If you pick up a '62 Nova versus a '88, Audi.
True.
Very, very different.
Absolutely.
If you want that car, you might find yourself, at the dealer more than.
But if we're talking about maintenance, so I do totally agree. Service manual is always helpful no matter what.
Yeah.
But if we're talking maintenance, that's not always totally critical because typically for a popular vehicle, all the maintenance stuff's pretty easy to find online for, changing brake pads or whatever.
Exactly.
Oil change, that kind of stuff.
I really liked your second note. I feel like it's one of the ones that whenever I get a new car, which is often, it's the first thing I do is start calling around the dealerships. Does anybody have any record, like checking your service intervals? If if the previous owner has skipped one, or it can be detrimental, or it may not be a huge, depending on the car and the motor. But checking especially as a good, we've talked about this before, but as a baseline, you now have this car. You want to start checklisting some things so
you can reset all those timers.
Yeah, that's smart no matter what. So
and that's kind of the basis of, or that was the follow up, like in the manual. That's getting a manual because they'll have those service intervals in there. As far as when to, like even down to mileage or every so thousand mileage or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And then also if it's not too intrusive, like you're not replacing the timing chain or something like that, hopefully it's been changed. I mean, that if you're concerned, it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe check it. Because if it's an interference motor, that timing
It's
chain goes
critical.
you're looking for a new motor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say you're just recycle that thing.
Yeah. But as far as like if it even if it requires, let's just say, valve adjustment, most motors from like ever since, I don't know when exactly, they're hydraulic lifters, so they don't necessarily need adjustments. They're kind of a set and let go.
Yeah. Well, I think stuff like, so service intervals is important because, like, for instance, my F-150 has the 5.4 liter 3-valve motor, and the service manual and every and like the owner's manual and stuff, I forget, but it says the oil change intervals are actually fairly long. Like the manufacturer, Ford says, I forget, 5,000 miles or 6,000 miles or something like that, right? With whatever oil they specify. But the number one thing, if you read on the Facebook groups and forums and stuff about getting long life out of that motor, is that forget whatever the owner's manual or anything says, stick with like 3,000 mile oil change intervals, because these have cam phasers to change cam timing that is oil pressure based or something, and I forget all the exact details, but people have found out through years of testing that the main way you prolong the life of that motor is sticking with 3,000 mile oil changes for the life of it. And if you do that, you can typically get 250,000-300,000 miles out of that. If you don't and you run the factory service intervals, like people were having timing issues,
and that's
in 100,000
when you're getting
miles.
like that, that dreaded Ford 100,000 replace your vehicle kind of.
So I figured
timer.
like that truck has such low mileage, I'm going to stick with the short oil changes. And whatever. I mean, I'll sell it long before it has any real miles on it, but I feel like that's safe to do, because then I know that it'll probably last forever. Like driveline wise, it's almost a new truck. So it's stuff like that is worth doing some research on,
Yeah, definitely. And that's stuff too when you're looking for the vehicle. I think we might have even mentioned it in the buying your first car or truck episode, was look up common or known issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Ahead of time, so you kind of know what to expect.
Right.
And
be realistic about them for the type of vehicle you buy. Like I think Max said, like you buy a Audi or I don't know, a twin turbo something that, you know what I mean? Like be realistic about what you buy too, because it may really realistically need like way crazier service intervals to last reliably. So that's important. But what about a tune-up? So I like this. This is important. And I feel like a lot of what you put in the notes for a tune-up is totally accurate, but also applies to a very specific year range, or at least before
not
a certain
all
age
the
of vehicle, right?
So not everything applies. It was kind of tricky. I actually did have to think a bit, like, okay, tune-up, what exactly would that because it's kind of changed a bit too. Yeah. And a lot of these things don't even apply anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
so I just threw everything in.
If you're tuning up a 55 Chevy versus
all
of your list, spark plug wires, air filter, fuel filter, distributor cap.
Exactly.
That's what I do on my van, on my Volkswagen. I have to do all those things all the time.
Clean car,
like
clean
modern
throttle body.
Yeah.
So but they're all good points. It just applies to a certain range of vehicle, which honestly, I hope a lot of people listening to this do drive a vehicle that needs all that stuff, because that's rad.
Exactly.
Well, let's
even has these things to service.
Since nobody can see our list, this is what we're looking at right now. We have under tune-up, we have spark plugs and wires, air filter, fuel filter, distributor cap and rotor, clean the throttle bodies, clean the carb, and check your timing. So that's, I think a lot of that, you may not do that on a 2019 Subaru. You're not going to get into some of that stuff. But if you buy a 1980 Trans Am, this is all
there we go.
prevalent.
Yeah, which I will.
I know
I
you
will.
I was going to say 77.
You better believe I will. No, but you know what this makes me think of? Our buddy Sam's Chevy. He's got a C10 or whatever, right?
Yep.
Super sweet. What 81 or
87.
something? I forget. So like really clean original 80s Chevy pickup, and a ton of this stuff would apply. And that's not like an ancient vehicle, but it's old enough. It's also a reliable daily driver. But a lot of this stuff would apply to something like that. There's still plenty of that stuff on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And yeah, not necessarily. I was gonna say with like if it was someone's first car or vehicle, it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting something older. But
well,
yeah, this was a tough one for me.
But
honestly,
they're good
it's
points,
great,
though.
complete list.
And stuff
it.
like cleaning the like on my truck. I've always been fighting. I just use this as an example because it's the newest vehicle I have. I'm always think it's the worst mileage of any vehicle I've ever had. It's averaging now down to like 9.5 miles a gallon.
You must be dying right now.
It's horrible. I mean, luckily I don't drive it all that much. It's not that big of a deal, but it gets horrible mileage. And I've done all this kind of stuff. Like I replaced spark plugs on it just because that motor, they're good for 70,000 miles or something, but again, mileage problem. So I put new plugs in it. I put new coils in it. The truck only has 28,000 miles on it now, but it's also 15 years old. So I replaced all that stuff to be safe. I cleaned the mass airflow sensor and the throttle body just in case they were plugged up. Because this is a really early drive-by-wire truck, so it's all computer-controlled throttle body instead of being like a cable or whatever.
so you've got a little servo that's
Right. So I checked all that stuff. I took it all apart, cleaned it, inspected everything. There's nothing wrong with it. It just gets horrendous mileage. But all that stuff totally applies as far as tune-ups go to like newer fuel-injected vehicles, you know? So like that's all valid stuff. The filter, air filter, all that stuff. Fuel. My truck also was really, it's still slow, but it was really sluggish. And I replaced the fuel filter just thinking, and it was totally the original one. When I bought it, 25,000 miles on it, never been changed. Ford book says change it every 15,000 miles. Looked totally fine. I swapped it out, and it was very noticeable difference in how fast it was, how fast it accelerated, especially.
yeah.
So that kind of stuff like totally applies to newer cars, and should be a tune-up thing, even though you might not think about it on something newer.
Yeah, well, especially like fuel filter. That's something that I even forget all the time. And a lot of the cars that I even come across too, older ones, like half the time the fuel filter's just been eliminated from the system to begin with.
Yeah.
But
well, it's more obvious on something like, you know, like on my Falcon, I have a fuel filter plumbed in the engine bay, right? It's really obvious if I need to change it. But on the truck, it's under the frame rail halfway back the car, and I would have never. It took me trying to rule out all this stuff causing poor mileage to even think to change it. And nobody would, right? Like you don't even think about a fuel filter, especially if it's not obvious. Like you don't even look at it. But you know, it made a difference on my truck for sure. So
yeah,
there's all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, oil. You have oil filter change. I think that's, you know, probably the number one thing people think of when you think of maintenance, because it's most important.
That's definitely your most often consumable, or at least service interval that you're gonna get is that's gonna tick probably one of the first things, or more shorter intervals than any other interval.
Well, and it can have the biggest impact on, you know, life and reliability and stuff. I like this, but I also wonder, so you put cut open filter and check contents. Good idea. Do you actually do it though?
I've done it maybe 3 times. I know for sure twice. And the only reason I did cut it open is because it was kind of a motor that's like, okay, I don't really know history on this. And it was being a little difficult, I guess, like on the first startup kind of thing. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? This filter had to have flowed something at some point. Let me cut it open and just see if it gives me any kind of hint on maybe something's going on, if this is even a motor that I want to spend some time on.
Did it have anything? Yeah.
Nothing excessive or like something I was concerned
No big
about.
sliver of metal in there or something.
No. Honestly, like the oil pan had more than, well, of course it would anyways. It just sludged up, but
you only replace them every other oil change, right? So
I know that's so. Of course, it was fine.
As you run like 3 or 4 oil changes.
Did I really write it? Okay, yeah. I don't know why I put cut open oil filter in check.
No, I mean it's cool.
I think I was. Yeah.
I've never done it.
I mean that's maybe something like if there's something going on or you hurt or think you might have hurt the motor a little bit.
Have you ever used, either you guys used, those like oil check services or whatever, where you can like take a sample of your oil and mail it in and they'll tell you like what was in it to give you the life of your motor or whatever?
No. I've never.
You know what I'm talking about? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like a motor analyst.
Yeah, the original one, I'm almost positive was called Blackstone. Yeah, Blackstone Labs.
Blackstone, isn't that where Jason Bourne?
Well, yeah, but he also
that was Treadstone. Sorry,
he also tests oil. I mean, come on, you got to diversify.
Test your oil.
Just because you make super spice doesn't mean you can't test oil. Yeah, Blackstone-labs.com. They do oil analysis.
What do they? So you just send them your old oil, a little droplet of it?
Yeah, look at their website. You order a free test kit, and they send you like a little vial or something, and you dump your oil and then put some of it in there, and you mail it to them, and then they send you back a report with the breakdown of like everything they analyzed in your oil, and then what they think that would mean. Like, there's an example report on their website. So like this one shows all this random junk that was in it: copper, lead, tin, molybdenum, nickel, the percentage or whatever that they found in the oil, and then they tell you what they think it could be. So like the example says, this Corvette has an antifreeze problem. You can see the coolant in high levels of sodium and potassium. The contamination is causing excessive bearing wear from the copper, lead, and tin that we see in the oil, and it's starting to cause problems in the upper end as well because of the aluminum. Iron is from steel parts like shafts and cylinders. Insolubles are the solids that form from the antifreeze. So like they can tell you quite a bit about what they expect the condition of the motor is from what they find in the oil.
Wow.
That's
looking at
so it's cool. I don't know what it costs. I've never done it, but I've definitely heard of this before. And I'm sure by now, I remember hearing about that 10 plus years ago, but I know there's got to be lots of other places that do this now.
Yeah. I would think just the normal person wouldn't really have too much need or...
Oh, I do this every oil change, every vehicle.
every other.
Yeah. And I archive the reports to compare with each oil change.
Exactly.
Well, it looks like it's $30. It says an oil sample report's $30. So I don't know if you suspected a problem.
I mean,
like,
that's a pretty fair price. Just out of curiosity, I would do that.
You should try it on one of your boss's cars and see if it.
Oh yeah. You know what? Actually, I've got an oil change schedule to have my oil change on the truck on Thursday. I'm going to see if I can get a sample of it from them, and I'll do it on the truck just to see. That'd be cool to talk about. I'll see what the report looks like.
Nice.
Oh, do you know what something I just thought of is have you checked your injectors? They could be clogged or something.
No,
like
but I was thinking that's honestly I don't know what else to check on this truck as far as the mileage goes because everything's perfect on it. It does, now I'm at 28,000 miles on it. There's no miles on this, but it gets horrendous mileage. I mean, it is so bad. It's like unbelievable.
It doesn't really make sense.
Do you know what?
Get that kind of mileage.
No.
It could be transmission or drivetrain issues also.
I had the trans serviced when I bought it, and I just had them do fluid and filter, and it was perfect. I mean, I've had I haven't done too. I did all the brakes on it myself, and like the brakes are new and they don't drag. There's like the drive shaft's perfect. I've had it in the air multiple times to check that the four-wheel drive is not binding up. Like make sure the hubs are unlocking and they unlock. I cannot find a single thing wrong with it. Has no miles, runs perfectly, but no matter what, it typically gets best mileage with any in-town driving is about 10.5. If I'm heavy on it at all, it gets 9.5, and the best mileage I've ever got, which was a full tank on the freeway, got 12.5.
Oh,
So
geez.
these were not good motors for like fuel efficiency, but like it shouldn't be that bad.
Not that bad, yeah.
It's really, really horrible. So I don't know. But injectors was next, actually. I do monitor like I've got a OBD Bluetooth reader thing.
Yeah, I figured you, as I remember, you usually have
checked
all
that
stuff in your
stuff.
cars.
Fuel pressure's great. I can see the fuel trims for all the fuel injectors, and there's not one of them that's like way out of line.
Yeah, because I was thinking
don't know.
if you're getting bad mileage, you could be like, it could be that it pretty much that means it's working harder than it should.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, it is extremely slow. I have to say, like, it is by far the slowest truck I have ever owned. It is horrendously slow, and but it runs perfectly and it drives fine. It's like there's nothing obvious, but like God is so slow, and I'm always like something's. I do feel like something's wrong. I just don't know what, because I'm a decent mechanic and I cannot find a single thing actually wrong with the vehicle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
So I do have like part of just like a check, and this is periodically, is to top off the cooling system.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's good. I mean, most cars, at least newer cars, have like a surge tank, so you can just visually see the level just real quickly. Otherwise, just pop the cap, check it out. I do have like possibly flushing the cooling system. A lot of times that actually is a service interval.
Yeah.
I only do it really, like, I think we talked about it when like buying a new car, what to look for.
Yeah.
Is if you see some like discoloration in the cooling system, maybe it's time to do a flush. I don't think you necessarily have to go by the book. I could be wrong. But
the service intervals are typically pretty long for coolant, I would think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, 50,000, 25 to 55.
That'd be my guess,
50,
30 to 50
like
or something.
I just did. I
it
just
wouldn't
did
hurt
mine
it.
on my Scion. It has 155,000 miles, and I just did the transmission and the coolant.
Mm-hmm.
They're old.
Yeah.
That's the stuff people never like. I think somebody made mention that.
Nobody does it.
Checking your oil and filter is like what's done all the time, but then nobody goes beyond that often.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
and like brake fluid, we talked about that with bikes, but
Yeah.
on cars that can make a huge difference in stopping power, you know, and like nobody ever changes it until it's just sludge.
Yeah.
So that matters for sure.
That's kind of a bear of a job. I think the last time I took mine in,
it does suck. That vacuum bleeder makes it a lot easier, but it's still a lot of work.
Does. Still, yeah. And if you have a second set of hands, it's a lot easier. On bikes, it's so easy, but I feel like cars, it's a lot.
Cars, it sucks.
Harder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you got trans fluid. It's so easy to check, but like nobody ever does it. But
Exactly.
But it's not hard. You do have to make sure most automatic transmissions you have to check in park or whatever while running and hot.
Yeah.
And I feel like people maybe don't pay attention to that. And you can get weird measurements on the stick if you don't do it the way it specifically tells you to.
Yeah. So normally you want to check it while the vehicle's running in park or neutral when it's at operating temperature. So not necessarily only the engine's at operating temperature, but the transmission is at operating temperature.
Yeah.
Very few cars have transmission temperature gauges or anything, or at least reads. But usually, like after a drive or something like that, transmission is going to be at normal operating temperature.
So why is that you have to check it in that condition?
Just because fluid expansion, and it also, it's fluid expansion.
I always wondered, like, why couldn't they just calibrate the dipstick for cold? You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't?
Well, so that was going to add also, like, I have seen a lot of dipsticks for transmissions, automatic transmissions that have a cold reading and a warm reading.
Okay.
Or they say hot. So if that's the case, just after it's well and cooled down, have just start it up and then just check it, and if it does have a cold reading. But yeah, so that's
I've always seen that pretty easy. I have had it on a truck for sure. What was that? My Chevy diesel truck that had burned fluid for sure. Like you could tell it, the smell and the color was off like badly.
Yeah.
It was very obvious that the fluid was toast.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely when transmission fluid goes bad or burns, it's got like really, I mean, that's like one of the smell of death kind of
you can't
like smells. And then also if it's discolored, generally it's going to be a little bit darker. So even down to like if it's got like a hint of maroon in it, it's a good idea that to flush that out and replace that transmission fluid. Yeah. It should be like a cherry red, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like a candy apple red.
There you go.
And
those
and if
aren't
it's
too hard to service yourself if you want to.
No, I mean most automatic transmissions have a drain plug on the pan. So a lot of, I mean, I don't know
changing
about
the
most,
filter in them isn't particularly hard.
Oh yeah,
but
that's just drop in the pan and then just
I've
throw on
seen
a new little sock filter on it.
I don't know if this is actually good advice or not, but I have seen mentioned many times that on older vehicles, you should not change the filter and flush the fluid. Like you should top it off if necessary. But there's a lot of people that say don't do that. Don't service the transmission unless totally necessary, because you are more at risk of flushing out a bunch of like crap inside it and like plugging it up worse.
So am I
explaining that right? It's something like that, but I know I've heard that.
So when I was just getting ready to do the Scion, it had 150,000, and so I went on to a couple forums, and a large handful of guys were like, "Do not flush the whole thing. Like just drain 5 quarts out, and then add 5 quarts, and then at 12,000 miles, do it again." And so I was like, okay, and maybe whatever. But then I called around to, I think, every single transmission shop in Fort Collins. And not one of them said that. They were like, absolutely not. Flush the transmission, run all of it through there, run an extra 6 quarts through it, and then fill it back up. They're like, that's
dude, okay, so come on. I'm not surprised. That's big transmission trying to sell.
But I called all sorts of places. It wasn't just like one shop.
It's a conspiracy, and you're buying in, dude. That's big transmission fluid is trying to push that to sell their product. And I can't believe you're so naive. You fell for that.
I know. I fell right for it too. I did the whole thing.
Honestly,
all these dudes online know the real deal, which is you don't change all that.
Facebook groups are there. Oh, that's the truth.
You got to get on these transmission conspiracy groups and see what the real deal is.
I definitely lean more on the side of that's probably just an old wives' tale, like some guy missing some teeth, drinking some beer in his garage, didn't want to do the work for his buddy's transmission.
That's a good point, yeah.
And then word spread.
I will say I've never followed that advice. I've totally flushed it and changed the filter multiple vehicles myself, and never once had an issue. So
yeah, they were. Some of the arguments were like, "Oh, the oil is now thick." And your transmission is like used to the thickness of the oil, and if you,
oh my,
I'm like, what? That doesn't make it sense.
Dude, the little guy inside that controls it got used to the thickness of the oil, and he can't compensate.
Yeah.
So
well,
stupid.
what's the first thing that's impressive? That transmission just magically became sentient. So that's something that needs to be looked into more.
Yeah.
And then we can have a conversation if the transmission wants to be flushed or not, and they'll be able to give us an answer.
So do be wary of what you read on the internet, I guess. Is what I'm saying.
To me that just doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
But it definitely, like Evan was saying, like it was shared by many. Like
oh, it's all over the place.
Yeah, like
25
people. Oh
no,
that's only drain 4 quarts, and otherwise your transmission will slip and fail. And
I heard that like when I was in high school, like even probably before that. And I'm sure I've told people that like way back then because it's like, oh yeah, I know this, and they don't. I'm gonna seem like I know my shit. But yeah, I mean, change your fluid. If need be, like if it's you don't need to go out of the way to change it.
This is exactly what I want, like comments from people listening to this on, because I would love to hear what other people think.
Some old dude's like, you idiots.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear like, you fucking rookies don't know what you're talking about. You're destroying every car you've ever owned by maintaining it correctly.
I mean, possibly. I don't keep cars for long.
That's like the thing. I don't either. So who knows? Maybe they're right, and they're time bombs for the next owner. I don't know.
But honestly, like the only time you're going to even really see, more than likely, like see some like burn trans fluid or something like that is if you've got some deeper issues with the transmission.
Yeah, true.
Whether you've run it with low fluid.
Or you might have a trans cooler that's plugged up or something.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of stuff like that.
Or you've got some very noticeable issues like the transmission slipping. You could have a torque converter that is going out and creating a lot more friction that's heating up and burning that transmission fluid. So that's something to keep an eye on. It may not just be, and likely not just, an issue of pulling the old fluid out and putting some new fluid in.
Yeah.
If like Evan, like you said, if it is like a trans cooler issue, that could be an indicator. And then so maybe addressing that issue or figuring out, because those can get clogged up, which is another kind of something to be worried about. So address the possible issue or the issue that's causing the problem, then throw it back in. But yeah, I mean, check your level too. That could even tell you they aren't designed to leak or lose transmission fluid. So if you're having to top it off,
there's a problem.
There's a problem somewhere that can be manageable for the time being. It's not like get your car off the road. But top it off until you can figure out exactly what's going on, and when you have time to actually get it in or address it yourself.
What was the old 70s myth or the 80s myth when you would like go to a used car lot and
they put sawdust in the transmission or whatever?
Was that real? Did anybody actually?
I know I've heard that, but I have no idea if that's real or not.
See a guy just cramming sawdust down
How would you actually get it in there?
I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me.
And also, where the fuck do you get sawdust?
And then it was like always talked about. Always, if you bought a used car, someone would be like, "Well, they probably put sawdust in your transmission." I was like, for real? Who
wouldn't even know where to get some to
anybody?
Let alone how to get it in the transmission.
I could see some creepy guy in his car lot just like dumping sawdust down the
in a plaid suit, fucking crazy Ivan's used cars. Sawdust
in his some huge 80s boat car.
Shit. Yeah. I don't know. I've heard that too, and I have no idea how that's a thing. I feel like that probably came from like Model T days, because that did something to quiet down the transmission in a Model T. I don't know where else.
Chrysler Cordoba.
Cordoba.
Do you remember those cars?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to hear it anyways with the fine leather inside.
It was all trunk and all hood. Like it's just
oh my god,
monster car.
Huge. Those I don't know about a Cordoba, but remember Cadillacs in the probably the 70s that had velour seats or whatever with the
awesome.
massive,
oh my god,
cushions on them and stuff. Oh my god,
they're the best.
Yeah, they're. I mean,
okay, I'm gonna try to get us back on track here.
Well, do we want to?
We're pushing an hour 8 minutes. Why don't we call it and continue this, because there's still plenty to talk about.
Yeah. We get picked back up with.
Let's knock out. let's knock out these next two, and
I
then
think
that kind of puts
transfer
us in
case and differential is related, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
And belts and hoses, that covers motor and drivetrain.
Yeah,
mostly, so
exactly.
that
And
works.
then this is kind of some of the stuff after this is kind of more of how would you say it? Less like detrimental, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily suspensions on there.
I think these are good points though for maintenance. So like you had check transfer case and differential, and that's like that makes me think of my Jeep. That thing was pretty critical to regularly check transfer case fluid, because it, even with a newly rebuilt transfer case, for whatever reason, it always leaked out of the rear seal. And I replaced it probably 5 times while I owned the Jeep, and it always leaked, and I always got used to checking it. But that's also pretty critical on that Jeep, because you don't even have the rear axle turning if the transfer case isn't working correctly. So
Yeah.
it's
That must be like another it's a Jeep thing, because I just worked on on that rear main seal on the
Transfer case.
on the transfer case, because
Yeah.
I worked on
it was common for
Grand Wagoneer, and that rear.
That's
rear
older,
sear,
though.
or
Mine was a
it was
TJ
90.
with
No, this was a 91. It was the last year of
was?
the Grand Cherokee.
well, I don't know if it was the same transfer case.
Wagoneers.
Mine was a problem because it was a TJ with a MP205 or whatever, the really common transfer case in Jeeps of that era. And when I lifted it, I had to do a slip yoke eliminator, so I had to put a new rear cover on it and then change to get rid of the slip yoke, so I actually had U-joint there for more flex, right? And when I changed all that, I put in the new rear cover that had a new seal in it and everything, thinking, okay, I'll never have to touch this again. But it seems like it's pretty common. The aftermarket cases aren't great, and the seals don't fit well, and then they just never seal well. And then as soon as you do that, you never know it, and then you're really committing to changing a seal like I'd get 2 years out of them. I got really good at doing it. I could change it quick under the car, but it happened. Yeah, that is a Jeep thing, I think. It's very common
I just like finding new ways to say, oh, it's a Jeep thing.
It's a Jeep thing.
It always is.
Piles of crap.
And they require. It was a great, reliable car, but it was always.
Yeah, and I apologize. I don't want to offend anyone. I know, I know Jeeps are a very popular brand.
I liked it, but it was not the best car in the world. It was a Jeep, I was pretty realistic about it. It was good for what it was, but it was not like a nice car.
Yeah. I've never
owned
left Fort Collins in my TJ, or was it a YJ? What was ours?
No, you had a TJ too. You had the same
TJ,
one.
yeah. I just never. I mean, I went down to Loveland, but it didn't drive well. It shook and. And
I drove mine out from California. I mean, I drove it from California to Colorado, and then I took it down to Telluride. Like, I drove it lots of places. Was it fun to drive on the freeway? No. Especially after lifting it. No. It was horrible.
My buddy William has over 300,000 miles on his TJ.
Oh, wow.
It's the only car he will ever own. He just will not.
Really?
Nope.
It must be the 4.0, right? The
it
6-cylinder? Yeah, that thing like lasts for.
I think he just posted. He just posted on Instagram. He's like, I just turned 300,000, and he's like driven it cross country. He and his girlfriend drove it cross country with no top.
Oh wow!
Like wind and rain and sweat and sun.
Wait, she had no top or the Jeep?
Well, I think there was the Jeep.
Oh, I was just trying to
That's
iron out the story.
That's Mark's sister, so you got to be careful.
Oh, geez, sorry, Mark. I was just trying to get the details correct.
Dang,
check in.
That's a lot.
Check in transfer case fluid, and an easy. Generally, all the ones that I've checked is you just pull the plug, the fill plug too.
Yeah,
and you just stick your finger in there, and it should be pretty much at that level.
Yeah, it's like right down below.
You can just fill them until it runs out of the fill hole. Usually,
exactly.
You're good.
Yeah.
And typically there's no need to like change the fluid. You just keep it topped off. And
exactly. Unless you're starting to hear some grinding or something like that, that's usually mean that that's been contaminated or broken. So
I feel like
Whoop.
oh, we lost you, buddy.
We lost Evan.
Yeah,
Evan?
your mic finally got unplugged or something.
I wonder if he can hear us. Oh,
Oh, he's gone.
out. Well, to
Well,
finish
we
the
got his
show.
GoPro.
Oh, there he
Oh,
is.
there he is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Wow, I don't know what happened. I saw
think
that my video
your
went out.
GoPro might have went to sleep.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's on. Nothing changed.
Mm.
Huh. Okay.
Well, anyway.
Oh shoot! I just see that the timer stopped.
No, mine's going.
It is.
Yeah.
Mine says 25 seconds right now.
Mine says 1:14:47.
Oh, what the hell?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still on.
Let's wrap this up then, just in case I don't
Yeah.
lose anything here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping my audio will continue because I don't know, my timer reset, but we'll see. So, anyways, we'll continue next time. We'll continue with car and truck maintenance, but I guess we're going to cut this short just in case we don't want to risk losing anything with our recording here.
Yeah, I like it.
So cool.
Well,
okay.
thanks
Well,
for
we'll
listening,
keep this
guys.
going.
And yeah, we're all really excited, and keep checking us out. Every Monday, you'll know. Yeah, just get me to stop talking.
Okay. Stop talking, Brady.
Okay.
And check out allwheelspodcast.com. We'll keep all our info there as soon as everything's live.
Amen.
Cool. Okay. See you guys.
All right. See you next time.